People, come on in the building. Good people, go tell somebody your homie HERBMAN is in the building, man. Let me get this camera straight, man. I wanted to talk to you guys today a little bit about what disease is and just kind of go over what we can and cannot do, what we need to look out for in order to sustain some proper health. So go tell somebody your homie HERBMAN is on. We appreciate all of you guys for following us thus far. Again, we just want to keep building on what we already know. The things that we don't know, we want to continue to do the research. I am your resident herbalist. I'm your homie HERBMAN, but I am not a doctor. So take everything for what it's worth and do your research, okay? But when we talk about the question of why do we get sick or what actually is disease, we have to really start going internal to really understand those questions. Now, in my perspective, in my opinion, disease is just an accumulation of imbalances, right? And you can have these imbalances whether acutely or chronically, okay? And basically what those two words simply mean is you can have an acute situation is in the moment. Maybe you just had an injury or something just happened this day that made this particular disease or dis-ease or imbalance come to fruition. Or you could have been having these imbalances over a period of time that caused these imbalances to start taking place within the body, okay? So that's really what we're looking at is just simply imbalances, okay? Now, depending on which modalities you're into, depending on which traditional medicines you're looking into, whether it be the Chinese, Ayurvedic, or traditional African medicine, or even the Western, you could be looking at these imbalances from the number of 4, 5, 3, or 2, okay? And in the Chinese, they're talking about two different things. And what I like to call the traditional African medicine, we're talking about it from the 4 elements, right? 4 parts. If you're talking about the Ayurvedic community, it could be just the 3 doshas, right? Also, if you're looking at it from another way that you can look at it from the Chinese methodology, if you're talking about the elements, it could be 5, okay? But really what it's about is balancing those things, whether it be the number 5, 4, 3, or 2. All of those things have to work together. But what I like to look at it from is the 4 elements, but also the 2. Because if we can just simplify this and look at it from a physiological standpoint and a psychological standpoint, this is very easy for us to understand the imbalances and what's taking place. But when we start going into the body systems and the body organs and then going into vitamin and mineral ratios and imbalances, you're really going to have to do your research to understand that, okay? And I didn't want to really make this video very, very long, but I definitely wanted to make it very strong. So disease is imbalance. Imbalance in where? Imbalance in the psychological being of myself and in the physiological being, right? So what has to take place first is the psychological standpoint. So there are going to be imbalances there. Now, what are these imbalances? We're not talking about hormonal. We're not talking about chemical. What we're talking about right now is just your thought processes, right? How these thought processes even entered into the body, where the mind starts to think of things and starts to really formulate thought. That's when the body acts. It doesn't act before the thought, it acts after the thought. So the physiological thing really can happen before psychological, really only if it's a genetic case. Okay, if it's a genetic case, meaning that you had nothing to do with why your situation is what it is. Okay, so that's from genetics. But when we're talking about things that we can control, things that we've done to ourselves, that normally comes in a whole different package. And a lot of times that's either going to be due to social engineering, meaning that people put these particular thought patterns and thought ideas of ourselves in us based on our immediate environment, based on our family, based on all these different things, our society, all these things, right? They put these thoughts into you that you need to have these things, that you want these things, and therefore that happens first before the physiological stuff starts to happen. Now, let's just deal with it from a psychological standpoint of a person who doesn't have genetic issues. So we're talking about, your parents and how they ate. They begin to feed you these foods at a very, very early age. And then as your body starts to digest these foods, it also starts to recalculate the bacteria in one's body. All right, the bacteria in your gut then gets used to these sugars and bitters and sours and whatever else you're eating, and now they formulate a want for these particular foods. And now you're in a situation where you yourself feel as though this is what you desire, but it's really you listening to your gut. The bacteria is telling you that they want some sugar, that they need some alcohol, that they need the drugs, that they need the beef, the pork, the foods, right? That are causing you these physiological issues. Okay? So that's what we got to understand first. A lot of it comes from social engineering. So with that being said, then we need to really handle it from that perspective first, right? We handle dis-ease and we handle imbalances from the neck up, especially if we're not dealing with genetics, okay? We're going to handle our imbalances and we're going to control our dis-eases from the neck up, which means that we're going to think about the things that we're thinking about, right? We're going to moderate our addictions or our energies, our thought energies from the level of the brain, okay? What I'm saying is you have to control all of this stuff from this standpoint, because where the brain goes, the body follows. All right, where the brain goes, the body follows. So if you're constantly thinking about smoking a cigarette, then obviously you're going to keep going to the store buying packs of cigarettes. If you're constantly thinking about when I get out of work, I'm going to drink me a beer, then your body literally is going to drive you to the liquor store. Okay? If you're constantly thinking about you need chicken, you need this beef, you need this pork, then you are going to cook it or go get it from whomever you need to go get it from, because the body follows the brain. Okay, so how we why do we get sick, or what is dis-ease? It's the imbalance of our thoughts. Okay, the diseases are the imbalance of our thoughts. We think more about the things that have negative ramifications on our bodies than we do positive things. And if you're thinking about things and you're thinking about partaking into things that have more of a negative impact on your health than it does positive, then guess what? You're going to have a physiological result in the form of dis-ease. Okay? But disease doesn't start in the body unless it's through genetics. It starts with the thoughts. If you're constantly thinking about, based on your engineering, okay, that you're constantly thinking about, I need bacon in the morning, I need beef in the afternoon, and I need chicken at night, okay, and you never give thought to the fact that you're eating all of this meat, you're eating all of these starches, you're eating all of these carbohydrates, right? You're eating all of this stuff, and you just never give it any thought because it's what you want, it's what you desire, okay? Then that is the reason why you are in dis-ease or imbalance, because you have more thought processes about things that have negative ramifications on your health than you do the positive. So for a person who eats salad every now and then, but eat junk for the most of the part, we have to moderate that. We got to moderate that. You have to balance that out. So this balance is going to take place again, all the way from the inception of something, which is your thought. That's where we kill dis-ease. That's where we kill imbalances. That's where we stay healthy. Okay? And we need to teach our children these things. So if we're going to social engineer them, let's put more information in them that can combat the negative stuff. Let's give them more positive reinforcements as well, so that although we may have shown them some negative things that will have negative ramifications on their health, we also have exposed them to some positive things, and now all they got to do is understand how to balance out the thought life. Okay? How to control that is everything. Okay? It is everything to a person that is in need of help. Okay? So, when we start in the psychological realm, we actually kill dis-ease. We kill the imbalances. Now, it doesn't mean that you're not going to have stress in your life that's going to contribute to certain stuff. It doesn't mean that's going to, make you circumvent accidents in the life, right, that will cause certain stuff to happen. We're not talking about those things, okay? We're talking about stuff that we can control, and it starts in the thought life. We can control most of these thoughts. And we got to understand that that's where the imbalance comes from. I think about more things that have negative ramifications on my health on a day-to-day basis than I do positive. And if I know that about myself, if I realize that about myself, if I have come to that type of conclusion, then I have to understand that the result at some point is going to be that my actions are going to have a physiological result. Okay? I'm going to reap what I've sown in my brain, in my thought process. Okay? So we have to change it up here first. So again, what is dis-ease? Imbalance. Where? In the psyche of the individual. Okay? At what area? In all areas. We do more things that will have more negative impact on our health than we do positive. And so once we get that down packed, now we know how to circumvent dis-ease. We know how to maneuver through life. We know how to do things in moderation. And ultimately, we know how to keep homeostasis within our lifestyle. We know how to keep proper balance within our circumference, within our communities, within our lives, within what we do on a day-to-day basis. And this is really very, very key. This is very, very key. Because I'm not saying don't do stuff, and I'm not saying restrict yourself. I'm simply saying moderate it, balance it all. And if we can balance it all out, trust me, you won't have any dis-eases, because if there is no imbalances, then there is no dis-eases, unless it's genetics. Unless it's genetics. Why do we get sick? Because we have sick minds. Why do we get diseases? Because our mind is not at ease. It's not at ease. Because we're not properly moderating and balancing our thought life. And we just find ourselves doing things that are detrimental to our health. In the long run, you can start something right now at the age of, baby. And if you give this baby bad habits, this baby grows up, continue to fester in these bad habits. Then once that baby get an adult, some of those bad habits, they just gonna simply say, that's me. That's just what I like. That's just what I like to do. I can't do nothing without meat, folks. I can't live without this. I can't do that now. So because these habits have gotten to be a part of who they are, again, the bacteria enjoys it as well. So now the bacteria wants it, and you just feel like that's you. That's your cravings. When really it's your bacteria cravings. that you formulated based on the social engineering, the bad habits, and then now starting to permeate these bad habits as if they are who you really are and what you are really about. Okay? So that's why you're starting to see this proliferation of people starting to really understand what's going on with the food industry, understand what's going on from a holistic standpoint, that their spirits may be also affecting, okay, their thought patterns, okay, because these things also are part of the social engineering that you're under, okay. So people are starting to put the pieces together and starting to see that it actually is going to take more work than just changing your food or just exercise. It's going to take more work. They don't want to do the work, but again, especially for those people who come into the herbal community, into the traditional medicine understanding, you know that you have to change lifestyle in order for you to have a cure or a healing take place within your life. It has to start from the inception that lifestyle has to change. It has to start there. And then when we start properly balancing these things now, and we start to detox from the negative things, from the things that cause negative ramifications on our health, we start to eliminate these thought processes. We start to detox and eliminate these social engineerings, and we start to realize that they are not a part of us, that they are not the defining thing about who we really are, okay? And once we start lifting the veil on those things and really start to flush those down the toilet, then we pick up new habits, new positive reinforcement, things that are going to be positive on our health, whether it be more spiritual things like meditation, slow walks, going to the water and just sitting by the water, whether it be grounding yourself in the earth, whether it be doing more things that create more passion and fire and desire and courage within your body, right? You start doing these things and you start realizing that, hey, you know what? Maybe I wasn't paying much attention from a thought, from an inception standpoint, to some of the other things in this particular experience, this life experience. And because of that, I've created a physiological ramification, whether that be arthritic, whether that be diabetic, whether that be high blood pressure, heart disease, whether that be you name it, right? We've created it based on our thought life. And all we simply got to do is recalculate, rebalance, put more in of the positive stuff than what we're giving ourselves negatively. And you start seeing your health rebalance itself from a physiological standpoint. You start seeing the body reset itself. You start seeing the body recalibrate. You start seeing the body rebalance itself, okay? And now those itchy skins and all those pimples and all those bumps and all those breakouts and all of this, you know, other little stuff that we've been dealing with, it simply goes away. Why? Because now we're properly balancing out the thought life. We're properly balancing out the thought life, which means that now we are really creating a level of love for ourselves that we never had before. We are redefining who we really are in this particular experience. And when we start redefining that, meaning that we're starting to control how we think about ourselves. And because we're starting to control how we think about ourselves, it has turned into a high level of love for oneself. And that person will not do the things that he used to do. And this kind of goes into be ye transformed by the renewing of one's mind. Okay? So it all is about psychological first for those who don't have genetic issues. And when we can control the thought life, we then can control the physiological standpoint of disease itself. So again, I didn't want to make this video long. I just wanted to make it strong. I didn't want to go down the tunnel into sodium and potassium, sodium and magnesium, calcium and phosphorus, all these different things that also too contribute to our health. But I believe that if we can start here we're eating right, living right, being right in the life, then there is really nothing that can befall us other than something accidental. Okay? And even then, because of the pattern that we would have been able to construct in one's life, those injuries, those problems that happen from an accidental standpoint, you can recover from quite quickly. Okay? Because you have the fortitude now. You will have the strength now. You will have the know-how now. And you will have a level of love and a level of vitality for one's situation to break through anything. All things is about energy. So that vitality that I have to know, I know now what to do, no matter what happens to me. I now know how to control self, how to control environment. And because I have that type of control, I now know that I can circumvent and I can maneuver and dodge dis-ease as long as I do it here first. I keep my brain at ease. I keep my thought life at ease. And I can make anything go away. So man, hey look man, I love you guys and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Go tell somebody to go tell somebody about your homie HERBMAN. I love you. And until next time, love HERBMAN. Yes sir.